Around the Valley's on.
Around the Valley's on!
Around the Valley's on!
Oh my God!
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Around the Valley. I am your host, Will Zimmerman, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, Kyle Miklenivich. This week we have a couple new segments to introduce as well as debate each other for the coveted People's Champion Award.
I'm coming
Kyle,
for it this week, Will.
It's good to see you, man. It's been a week.
Yeah. How was Utah?
Utah was great. It was skiing is so phenomenal out there. It was an awesome little family vacation. It was good to get away for a week. It was great. Great to be back, though.
It's good to have you back. Yeah, last week was fun. I want to thank again Bob Dalton, Eric Campbell, and John Leonard for coming down and helping me.
Terrific job, guys.
Yeah, had a lot of fun doing the show. But I'm excited to have you back, Will. So let's hop right into this.
Jump into this thing.
We're going to go ahead and introduce a little topic about golf. Talk about some golf here. So Matt Kuchar defeated Hunter Mahan 2-1 this week, this Sunday at the WGC Accenture Match Play Championship. I would love to be talking about how much I love match play and how much I think it's good for the game, but unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about the proposed putter ban the USGA has now put up because they're going to ban. They're trying to ban anchored putters from use in any USGA event. The PGA Tour, however, Tim Finchem, the commissioner, has already come out and said that he feels that the PGA Tour should use whatever he wants. My question to you is, where do you stand on the anchor putter ban?
I mean, I personally don't like the big putter. I think it looks awkward. So that, I mean, really, it's just kind of a aesthetic thing, like personally wise. But my feeling is that the USGA is the governing body for the PGA. It's been that way all the way through. Whatever rules the USGA adopts, the PGA has then just taken over without question. It seems all of a sudden a little bit ridiculous that the PGA can now all just come out of nowhere and say, oh, we're not going to follow you. Well, what rules are you going to follow then? There's no governing body. That's like taking away the the courts from our justice system.
Well, Tim Finchem did say that he reserves the right, the PGA Tour reserves the right to play by whatever rules they see fit. So they haven't found that using the anchored putter gives you a competitive advantage, is how they defined it. So they don't think that it makes any player that much better to the point where everyone's going to use it. Because if the long putter made you so much better, if the anchored putter made you a better putter, wouldn't every single player be using it?
But I mean, if you take a longer putter, you're anchoring the putter. So that's what we mean by anchoring your putter. The back of the putter goes into your chest, and that's how you use it. What it does is it completely eliminates so many errors immediately. All of a sudden, you're putting, you lose like using your torso. All you have to do is rotate your shoulders back and forth. So you instantly eliminate so many misses. So it's like you can go from like the worst part of the world becomes a decent putter. I think that that's a competitive advantage that you just can't have in golf.
I was indifferent to the long putters at first, but then I realized why not have the guys guys don't go from being a great putter or being a good putter to want to be great and then starting to use an anchored putter. They go from being a horrific putter, someone who cannot putt, doesn't gain any strokes per putt on the tour, to being a decent putter when they use the long putter. So you let them use it. But at the same time, there's so many misses you can make with a long putter. You can still be offline or have the wrong speed, and you're going to miss the putt regardless, even if it's anchored to your body.
I mean, I guess, but you completely eliminate like the free-flowing swing. There's no other club that's anchored. There's not one club that's ever going to be anchored. I mean, you can argue that some clubs wouldn't even give you a competitive advantage, especially a driver. You need that free-swinging motion. But it's like you're just giving yourself, you're allowing yourself a competitive advantage, a noted competitive advantage that pros may not be the ones that are going to be helped by their shots per stroke are going to be helped. But an amateur instantly becomes a better putter. Right. And the USGA rules are adopted as well for amateur players. That's the rules.
They govern the entire play of golf.
They govern golf, and they are now saying you can't use an anchored putter.
Right.
And just the pros can use it?
So that's the big issue here. That's what we want to get into. Do you think there should be two sets of rules, one for professionals and one for amateurs?
Absolutely not. It just doesn't. I mean, it doesn't make sense. How can you have? How can you have two sets of rules? I mean, everybody has to be playing the same game. That would be like saying professional basketball players have more rules to go by than AAU kids.
Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that they should have two different sets of rules. I think that they should allow the tour players to use a restricted level of performance with the technology, with the new irons, with the new drivers, with the new ball especially, because the ball now spins so much less than the old ball. They can control it to a foot, 6 inches of where they want to hit it. So I think you scale back the amount of technology that the professionals are allowed to use, and you let the amateurs use that same technology, because it's a manufacturer-driven game now. Frank Nobilo said that it used to be a manufacturer-supported game where they made it because we needed the equipment. Now they sell the new equipment every year. I work in retail. I know what it's like. $400 drivers, new ones every single year. They're the same thing. but they're getting all this distance. So I want to make sure that amateurs get that, but the pros, they don't need that. They don't need the extra distance.
So then, in all honesty, I would say that the USGA, to your point, I would say that the USGA needs to make to have the belly putter so that amateurs can use that and scale back the professionals. It's weird. It seems completely backwards that the professionals get to use this this somewhat easier style of putting. Somewhat, obviously, we're arguing if it's easier or not, and the amateurs don't get to use it because they're governed by the USGA, and it's completely governed by the USGA. It's completely ambiguous. It seems ridiculous.
Yep.
Somebody needs to make a decision. It's just, I don't know. I mean, Hunter Mahan, he doesn't use. I mean, he went into the WGC Eccentric Match Play Championship with an anchored putter. But
Matt
it wasn't.
Kuchar?
Yeah, Matt Kuchar.
Matt Kuchar, yeah, he won with the anchor to his arm. And how is that any different than using a normal anchored putter?
I mean, it's just a competitive advantage. All right, say it by the bell.
Time.
Say it by the bell. All right, so on Saturday, the UFC hosted its first ever women's pay-per-view event. Liz Comanche was defeated by Ronda Rousey by submission in the first round. Sorry for the name right there. But Kyle, my question to you is, what, if anything, does this event mean for women's sports?
I think this is a big event for women's sports because UFC is in prime time. It's on HBO. People need to purchase the fight, and a lot of people watch it. I know a lot of people watch the male fights because I've been friends with a lot of people who've watched them. I think it's getting them in the spotlight. I honestly didn't realize that so many women had fought in other, like Strikeforce events, other events leading up to the UFC until I did my research on this topic. But I think it's definitely a big point for women's sports. But I think it's more interesting because in most other women's sports, they're kind of, I wouldn't say watered down from male sports, but the physical aspect in terms of hitting, in terms of checking, in terms of those kind of things. Women's lacrosse or basketball, for even hockey, they're taking out a lot of that physical play. But how come these women are allowed to fight just like men are? If women are able to fight like this, and clearly they're talented enough, and if you watch the fights, I'm sure there are women who would give up obviously men for their spot. They're in the same weight class, so. Why can't they do the same thing with other sports?
That's what I wanted to draw on, especially with this whole thing with the UFC having pay-per-view women's fight. I mean, this was a brutal fight. This was a submission that was not she choked her out. Very, all the rules were completely the same. Very equality driven, I guess was one way you could put it for the UFC. But you have events like hockey where you can't hit, or lacrosse where you can't hit, or basketball where you're playing with a 10-foot hoop. Now, I want to actually stay on basketball for a second. Because I bring this up and a lot of people say that it's like handicapping a women's sport. There aren't many women who are walking around at 6'10 plus. There are plenty in the NBA for men. They're dunking on a 10-foot hoop. Women who stand mostly, the tallest woman, I think Brittany Griner's like 6'5", and she's
probably a little bit taller than that.
A little bit taller, 6. Okay, so she's far and away the biggest girl out in the NCAA right now. I don't understand why they can't play with a lowered hoop. It would make the game so much faster.
But is that the point? Is that the point of women's basketball? Is it to watch it as a faster game? Or isn't that the point of the differentiation between the women's and the men's game? Like we talked about, the women's game is full of fundamentals. They want to talk about moving the basketball, screening, playing good defense.
But nobody, I mean, just based on facts, nobody's really watching the WNBA. I mean, it's not packed houses in the playoffs. In comparison, but realistically, you watch a regular season game, there might be 4,000 people there. If you allow them to be, there's 30 dunks. 30 dunks is the record number of dunks in women's college basketball. You lower that rim and make it a faster game for them, it's much more pleasurable to watch. More people will be drawn to it. And women could go down there and they really have to protect the basket now. It's not just all ball movement.
It would definitely change the style of play. You'd have to change the way a lot of teams approach.
Softball is a smaller field. Nobody makes the argument that that's handicapping anybody. I don't want to. It just seems, we're almost handicapping women's sports by being so it has to be the same. Well, realistically, women, they're a little bit smaller. We get lower the hoop a
genetically,
little bit.
it's just
specifically for basketball, I would say that. And for hockey, I think that what this UFC event does is shows that women should be able to hit. It takes such a big part of the game out, especially in hockey and lacrosse, where I don't understand why women can't be hitting each other.
That's one thing that we talked about. We were curious is who's the governing body that decides that this women's sport isn't going to hit? Is it a board of men? Is it a board of women? Is it mixed? Is it former players? Is it parents? Who makes the decision that they can't do this? I'm sure that they want to be represented. Female athletes want to be represented as themselves, as what they feel.
Right.
So that's the next part of the discourse is to find out what part of the sports need to be changed from the athlete's perspective.
I mean, again, we're two men sitting up here discussing this, so we obviously don't have the perspective. But I would like to. I know a couple of the UMass girls who play hockey, and they want to hit. And I don't see why they're not allowed to. I don't understand that. That to me seems a little outlandish, and I would like to know who is the one saying, "Oh no, you guys,
Right.
this is the rule. You can't be doing this."
What governing body decides that? What officiating crew? What is the course of writing the rules?
I mean, yeah. In all honesty, it takes part of the fun out of the game. Those games. I was a hockey player. I was not a very good hockey player at all, and so I had to go out there and hit people because one, it made it more fun, and two, just because I was too slow to be able to do anything else.
Gotta take the body sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that this was a momentous occasion to really put women's sports in the spotlight and have an open discourse about some of these issues within women's sports.
Because that naturally comes about it. Like with Danica Patrick this past week winning the pole at NASCAR.
Right.
I mean, these women clearly are able to compete in men-driven sports, like especially with NASCAR. It's such a male-driven sport historically.
Yep.
Okay, so we're done with that. We'll get back to that. We're going to talk a little bit probably about on the blog this week, so we can get more into that with some comments. We're going to slide over to Derrick Rose was seen dunking off of 1 foot in warm-ups. He's back. He's should be back on the court within the next couple weeks. He tore his ACL in the playoffs last year. It's been a long road back, but that kind of makes you think. There have been a lot of really superior athletes going down with what looked to be horrific knee injuries, ACL injuries, MCL injuries. Adrian Peterson for one. Marcus Lattimore more recently. Yep. One of the highest ranked running backs coming out of the class.
If not the highest.
Right.
If not
with
the
incredible
highest.
Football IQ, great athleticism.
Oh, yeah.
Just a wonderful talent. And these guys are coming back so quickly from these ACL injuries. Adrian Peterson tore it at the end of the year last year and was back for this season, and everyone knows what happened. He almost broke the record. He was 8 yards short of breaking the all-time rushing record. So my question is, what about this, these ACL comebacks and these injury comebacks, what can we attest this to? Is it good medicine? Is it good athleticism? Is it just evolution? What is it?
Steroids. It's PEDs. And I don't mean that in the sense of like anabolic steroids where you're injecting somebody with the actual drug, but I'm saying, Kobe Bryant has been well noted of having plasma repairs.
He had to go to Europe.
Yeah, he had to go to Europe to get plasma inserted into one of his knees. That's actually been done to a couple people. I think Blake Griffin had the same thing.
Andrew Bynum, I believe, had it as well.
Andrew Bynum has had it. You have multiple courses of like steroids or supplements, hyperbolic chambers for athletes to sleep in. These things are all specialized forms of what I would consider performance-enhancing drugs. Not the illegal ones, but they're performance-enhancing. 20 years ago, people who tore their ACL were not coming back within 6 months. It's, you're getting human growth hormones. It's still not tested for. Why not use it?
So what's the purpose of us drawing a line then between sports medicine, what has become really good sports medicine? You figure we should be able to benefit from whatever our predecessors have developed. Like Dr. James Andrews is one of the leading orthopedic surgeons. He does all the Tommy John surgeries and knee surgeries for these professional athletes. Where do we draw the line where his work, which is so incredibly precise and able to get them back so quickly, to being performance enhancing? Because you could put drugs in your body which effectively do the same thing, human growth hormone, which repairs your muscles.
Completely.
But how is that not? Why do we not persecute any of these other people for these?
But see, that's where I don't understand. Sports is in its own realm. It's its own entertainment industry. It's its own area within our culture. All of these, or most of these types of treatments are completely legal for everyday people and are very highly recommended. They're just banned in sports. It's, in my personal opinion, I am from the camp that says give these guys what they want. I don't really see a problem with it. People are always going to try to figure out a way to go around the system, make themselves better. Give it to them. They're gonna do it anyway. Right. If you're not tested for HGH, we have like Ryan Braun. He was exonerated from his whole steroid persecution, and now he's coming back up again for it.
He was exonerated not because it turns out his test was false positive. It was because the person who took the sample
messed up,
really fudged up.
Yeah.
I mean, he got off on a once in a lifetime chance, and now it's coming back around to him that he could go under investigation
again. But that's what I'm saying. They're clearly taking them. But Lance Armstrong, another great example.
Well, I mean, isn't everybody doing something? If you're not taking whey protein, if you're not taking creatine, if you're not, taking all these supplements to get, like, that's what people suggest now. You should supplement your diet with those. No one ever supplemented their diet with protein powder with mass-produced protein
They
powder
would
even
eat
10,
eggs.
15
You'd
years
always
ago.
hear people like eating a
Egg
bunch
whites,
of eggs, or
exactly.
there was these natural forms. That's why I'm saying PEDs. That's what it's everything is so. There are obviously anabolic steroids, but protein, I guess it's a naturally occurring thing, but if you're supplementing yourself with protein,
Exactly, it's
what's
the same
the
exact
difference?
thing. You're enhancing your performance.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
I'd say give it to them, and give it to them in all forms. Be the Monstars. I would love to see the Monstars go out there and play.
There is something that is like a novelty about somebody who's kind of, I want to call it classic build. Somebody who's doesn't look like he's, yoked out of his mind, but he's lean and wiry, or she, excuse me, I should say both, because there are women who are built the same way. If ESPN The Body Issue, you see these athletes and you're like, that's natural, it's not built, it's not performance-enhancing drugs.
Right.
And it's just nice to see that, but at the same time, you have the roided out freaks from the early 90s from baseball, Jose Canseco, Mark
But those
McGwire.
roided out freaks brought baseball back from the dead. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, that was one of the coolest things to watch ever. I
suppose for the casual fan, yeah, but for somebody who knew what was going on with the steroids up until that point, you have to think, well, that's kind of a dark cloud hanging over the game, because there are so many people who did it.
It's a dark
right
cloud because we
beforehand.
put a dark cloud on it as a moral thing. If we didn't, if we were just like, hey, take them, then it wouldn't be a dark cloud. It would be incredible to watch.
You have to
It
think of
was
the natural
incredible to
progression
watch.
of human like physiology. That's what happens. We become better and more athletic as we evolve.
All right, so Kyle, this week saw some great sports moments from around the valley, from our UMass brethren and our Amherst College kids. I would like to say, if you guys would like to see me and Kyle debate local sports this week, go to the blog that's going to appear on the bottom of your screen, and you can watch our 5-minute segment on local sports.
Okay, so I think on that note, we're going to go ahead and bring up a friend of ours, close friend of the show. We're going to do a segment called Earl's Pearls. So
Earl's Pearls.
let's bring up Earl for the first segment of Earl's Pearls. We want to do this for a little while. Come on up, Earl.
Earl's Pearls.
Earl's Pearls. Earl's Pearls. So we're going to bring on Earl here to give a little segment that we like to call Earl's Pearls. So I want to introduce Earl here.
And Bonnie.
And Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie.
Okay.
Thank you for having me on the show, guys.
No problem.
In honor of the Oscars last week, I thought I had come up with a category. You give me nominees for that category, and I, and Bonnie, of course, would be the judge of said category. And we have 9 categories today, so let's get started.
Okay.
Let's start out with Best Director.
Best director. Oh man, I got mine. David Stern. You can't say enough about him. Just taking the NBA to new heights. Paying refs, getting revenue, baby. Gotta love it.
That's a good one. I'm going to go with Best Director. It has to be Bob Kraft. A buddy of mine, Ryan Connors, his dad was walking down the street. Bob Kraft stopped him, and he was wearing a Patriots shirt, and he said, thanks for being a fan, and gave him 2 tickets to the game. It's got to be Bob Kraft.
Gonna have to give that one to my friend Kyle here.
That's Bob Kraft,
Bob
100%.
Bias to Bob there. Next up, we'll do Best Villain.
Oh, Gary Bettman. Takes away half of my NHL season. I had to watch basketball constantly. I need my hockey. You know what I'm saying? What's
Yep.
going on, Gary Bettman? You're really hurting.
I like Gary Bettman, but I'll say Lance Armstrong's got to be the best villain. Best villain of all time.
Of all time.
Enough said.
I think Scar from Lion King is the best villain of all time. So I'm gonna give it to my friend here, Gary Bettman, because I'm a big NHL guy. Very partial
Need your
to
hockey.
me. Next up, we'll do Best Supporting Actress.
Best supporting. Oh yeah, Kerry Walsh.
Kerry
Walsh, the U.S. Olympian beach volleyball
That's
team.
funny. You know why? Because I went with Misty May Trainer as my best supporting actress. So you have to decide between both of them now.
See, I'm more partial to brunettes, and Misty May has a tramp stamp. So Misty May, you can take this one.
Okay. I'm sure she'll like that if she sees it.
Well, next up, we'll do Best Supporting Actor.
He's a good supporting actor. Great love in the crew. The guys who helped out Ray Lewis and threw away his his white suit so that he could carry on with his NFL career.
Wow. Okay, so I was going to do something different, but since you went with Ray Lewis, how about his PED guy? Whoever gave him the deer, whoever gave him and Terrell Suggs got them back from their injuries this season. Whoever gave them what they got, thanks, guys. You guys did a great job.
Well, with the recent Ravens success, I think I'm going to have to go with antler spray.
Yeah, antler spray.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Ray
But
Lewis.
without the, whatever. All right.
Next up,
Either way.
not usually the biggest carry, but we'll tone it down. Best Picture.
Best picture.
I got one. The butt fumble. Epic picture.
fumble.
Mark Sanchez's butt fumble.
I like that, but best picture it's in my mind fresh this week. Brad Marchand gets caught in the offensive zone, dumps a pass back to Zdeno Chara, catches it, spinorama, 1-2, dangle, backhand, top shelf.
All right, that's
This was a tight one for me because that goal was very pretty. But I'm going to have to give it to the butt fumble.
butt fumble. You can't. It's the
The
butt
image
fumble.
of Mark Sanchez, so depressed lying
That
on
was the
ground.
not top 10
for
weeks.
For
I think
19
it might
weeks.
still be.
Yeah.
So might be number one.
No, we'll have to look into that.
Okay, next up, we'll do best screenplay.
Oh my gosh. All right, I got mine. I worked for the UMass football team in the fall, and there was a tweet by Deshaun Williams at halftime that got picked up by the USA Today that said, "I'm out here balling, second half about to get started, time to go get Mo money." And it brought some shame to the UMass football team.
That's funny. That's funny. I can't keep up with that, but I'd have to say best screenplay. So I thought you meant literally screenplay. So in the preseason, Ben Roethlisberger threw a screen to Antonio Brown where he broke through about 6 or 8 Indianapolis Colts and rambled off all the way for the touchdown. So I went with that.
I like how literal you took my category, and so I'm gonna give you the win on that.
Okay.
Dude, I'm out here balling. You're not gonna give it to me?
You
I'm
get
out
more
here
money.
balling.
We got two more. We got two more. It's coming down to the wire here. You need 2 wins in a row though to tie up, so you gotta step your game up right now.
Jeez, all right.
We're gonna do best lighting and sound.
Okay.
I got Jack Edwards for best sound. He says some of the most incredible things week in and week out.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a Vesna.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go with. I'll go with lighting. Probably will have to be the Super Bowl with the best lighting, right?
Oh yeah, that is the best
lighting.
lighting. Get a little darkness coming in there.
Exactly.
Get a
Setting the
little,
mood, the ambiance.
In the last category, even though you took it a little literally, you missed it here because of the blackout in the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna have to give my man Jack Edwards the win.
Yeah, I mean Jack wins.
Okay, this is a big
9 times out of
category
10.
right here for you, Will. Last category is gonna be best actress. You can tie up Kyle here.
Jordan Weber in the Olympics trying so hard not to cry when she missed the all-around. That's my best actor.
You're talking about a young female crying on the show. Okay, so let's stick with Super Bowl a little bit. Best actress. I remember everyone gave Beyonce a tough time because of some pictures that came out. I just want to remember Beyonce in her acting days, Gold Member. Just think about Beyonce and Gold Member, and that's all you need to do, right?
Dreamgirls.
Okay, so yeah.
I'm gonna have to give the
Yeah.
last check mark to
There you
Kyle.
go.
Beyonce
and
wins
the
every
People's
time.
Championship, I believe.
Oh,
People's
yeah.
champ.
Yeah. Oh, wait. No. Not yet. The crew is going to decide on the first 2-3 topics. You didn't win
Come
quite
on.
yet. So we're going to throw this one out to the crew to decide. But in the meantime, we sent out a Twitter question that was, what is everybody's top 5 favorite sports video games?
Video
So,
games.
Earl, we got you here. What do you got for the top 5 sports video games?
Top 5. Let's see. Coming in at 5, I'm gonna go with NHL 09. It's really what brought me into the franchise, besides NHL 94, but that's probably gonna come back up on my list. At number 4, I'm gonna go with Madden 04. Michael Vick on the cover. You can just run out of the pocket, go touchdown
Yeah,
every single time,
every
or
time.
go deep. Didn't really matter. Number 3, this is tough for me. I'm gonna go with backyard football.
Backyard
Pablo
football.
Sanchez. Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe was in
Classic,
there.
classic.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'm gonna go with Mario Kart.
Oh,
Just a
yeah.
great game.
Absolutely.
Can turn it into a drinking game.
NASCAR's a
It's-
sport.
yeah.
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart's definitely a sport. And number 1, I'm gonna have to give it to NHL 94. It's the original.
It is. That's one of the best games of all time. We're actually.
What system did
momentarily
you play on?
I was on
N64 or Sega
it was
Genesis?
Sega Genesis.
Sega Genesis.
Genesis.
We're setting it up at my house right now on Sega Genesis. Can't wait to go home and play that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna do my 5 real quick here. I got at number 5 NHL 12, just classic game. Been spending all my time playing it recently. FIFA 11, great game. Backyard baseball. I didn't
Pablo
go football.
Sanchez,
Pablo
Petey Wheeler.
Sanchez, Petey Wheeler.
Ahmed Khan.
Pablo Sanchez just was way
The best.
too good.
He's
Just way too good.
If you didn't draft Pablo Sanchez, that's your
You were-
first mistake.
Yeah.
Huge mistake.
Crucial mistake.
And then 2 I went with Mario Kart because it's it's probably the classic sports game. And then my number 1, Donovan McNabb on the cover, Madden 06. Madden tournaments back in high school were the way to go.
Yeah, Madden's
What do
good.
you got, Kyle?
Okay, 5 is Super Batter Up for Super Nintendo. I don't know if you ever played it. It's like
Classic.
early 90s.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
it's really good.
Yeah.
MVP Baseball 2005.
Oh, wow.
Had
Terrific
probably
game.
the best franchise of any game I've ever played. You could design your own stadium.
Yes, you could.
I'm going to throw Backyard Baseball in there at number 3 because
Yep.
that's my go-to. Mario Kart as number 2 because Mario Kart, I will take that. Anybody in my house would have beaten anybody in Mario Kart in our heyday. We're going to throw down the gauntlet right here. We'll get a segment of us
on air
Yeah.
playing so we can see who wins and loses.
And then number 1, I'm going to throw a little curveball here. I don't know if you ever played it for the N64, Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey.
One of the best games. Wayne Gretzky 99 3D hockey, was that what it was?
I think so. You can just, after the whistle, slap shot for 2 seconds, and if it goes in, it's fair game. Scores were 11-10,
All right.
Classic.
Yeah, so then we're going to send this over and read off some of the tweets that you guys sent us. So take it away, Kyle.
All right. Hey, folks. We're back in the editing suite here to do some Twitter. We sent out a question yesterday before the show, what your top 5 sports video games of all time. Got some good feedback here, so I'm going to read some of the tweets here. Charlie O'Donnell at Bastard Charlie says, Tecmo Bowl, try and stop Bo. I'm assuming he means Bo Jackson. Can't stop Bo Jackson in that game. Madden with Vic on the cover, that's 04. NBA Street, Griffey Jr. for Super Nintendo ES or SNES. I'm not sure if that's a different system or not. And Wii Bowling. So, yeah, I agree with all those. Those are all great. Thanks, Charlie. We got Drew Homan, who's we want to get on the show at some point. He's an NBA expert, so we want to get him on the show. He says NBA Street Volume 2, NBA 2K11, which from what I've heard is the best, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, NHL 94, and Mutant League Football, which we haven't heard yet, which is a good one. The Cosman at Cause World Order says NBA 2K13, Ken Griffey Jr. presents MLB Baseball, NBA Jam, Tecmo Super Bowl, and MVP Baseball 2005. So you're my boy, Cosman. I like that. Kevin Keeley, roommate of mine, says Mario Kart, NFL Blitz, NHL Hits, NBA Street, NFL Street. So he's going old school. I like all that. Even though I'm better at Mario Kart, that's fine. MVP Baseball. John Leonard says MVP Baseball 2005. Obviously, we played that game a lot. NBA 2K11, Madden 05, Ray Lewis on the cover, Blitz, and NBA Jam with honorable mention, Tiger Woods 2004. Gillen says, Sean Gillen, my buddy Sean Gillen says Mario Kart, Blitz the League for 360, Ken Griffey Jr. for 64, Madden 2011, and NASCAR Dirt to Daytona. My buddy Alan Kavanaugh says FIFA for EA, NHL, any of them for EA Sports, Blitz for 64, and that's pretty much all you need right there. And a good friend of the show, Danny Schneider, he's coming up in a little bit. He says 5 Blitz, 4 Madden, 3 NHL, 2 FIFA, 1 Super Mario Striker, hashtag Wii, hashtag Mario Soccer, hashtag Godly. Okay, so that's pretty much all we got here. So if we get any more, we'll definitely read them out next week. But thanks for sending out your love. So we appreciate it.
All right, love some of those tweets. And it looks like we got a decision by the crew, and every time that I announce this, I lose. So Kyle wins it again.
I figured it was going to be me.
Yeah, yeah, you figured it was going to be.
I figured so after I
Here's
won that
your,
last segment.
Your Christmas tree and Reptar.
Is this the second one for me now?
It is.
Okay. Well, luckily I had something prepared because I knew I was going to be winning the People's Champ today. So how are you going to remember Tom Brady's legacy? Are you going to remember the 3 Super Bowl championships in 4 years? Are you going to remember the 8 conference championships in a row? Are you going to remember the 8 division championships in a row? Are you going to remember 2-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time NFL MVP? Are you going to remember the 96.6 all-time passer rating? Or are you going to remember the 3-year, $27 million extension that he just signed, which freed up $15 million of cap space over the next 2 years for the Patriots? I mean, you can't thank Tom Brady enough for what he just did. He gave them $7 million in cap space this year, $8 million in cap space next year, so they can free up, sign Wes Welker and Aqib Talib, maybe even go after Freeney or Ed Reed in free agency this year. So even, Adam Schefter said, even in February, Tom Brady helps the Patriots win. And it's so true. This guy took a pay cut. He's getting paid $7, $8, and $9 million for 15, 16, and 17, respectively.
Love him.
And
Man
Joe
crush.
Flacco was looking for a $20 million plus a year contract.
Man crush.
In the world that Joe Flacco gets $20 million and Tom Brady is paid $9, I mean, it's a bizarre world. That's what that is. So I just wanted to gush about Tom Brady for a little bit for the People's Champ.
I love
We
Tom
love you, Tom.
Love you, Tom.
Love you,
Thanks,
Tom.
Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for everything you've done.
We're going to introduce a new segment. We're going to introduce a segment on Final Thoughts. A great friend of the show, Danny Schneider, is going to get 2 minutes to conclude this week's action in sports. Take it away, Dan.
Hello there. Today I'm here to talk to you about NASCAR and why do people watch NASCAR? To me, it makes absolutely no sense. NASCAR is just a waste of a sport. If I want to go watch someone make a left-hand turn, I'll go to my street corner and watch somebody make a real left-hand turn in traffic with people coming the other way. You're getting paid millions of dollars to make a giant left-hand turn for 3 hours, and if you win the race, you get paid $1 million, $2 million. The best is after a race, they say, oh yeah, my car is running real fast today. Last I checked, every engine's virtually the same. How does Jeff Gordon's car run faster than Jimmy Johnson's car? It just makes absolutely no sense to me. And here's the other thing that really gets me about NASCAR. They say, oh, it's a great sport to watch on TV. I hear it is a good sport to watch live. Never been, but I will give them that. It does look entertaining. All you do is, have some beers, some good-looking ladies, and you got yourself a good event. However, on TV, you're watching people make left-hand turns for 3 hours. Really, what is there to watch? A crash? Yes. That is why people, in my mind, watch NASCAR. For crashes. You see a commercial. Oh, the Daytona 500's coming up this weekend. What do they show? They show big crashes from the past Daytona 500s. They don't show, oh, look at this highlight of Danica Patrick making a nice left-hand turn. Oh, yeah, that's really nice, Danica. That is good. You really know how to hold a steering wheel and put your foot to the gas. Yeah, that's talent. No! People watch NASCAR for crashes. And then a huge crash happens like the other day at the Daytona, and people make a huge deal about it. Oh, my God, fans got injured. Cars are everywhere. It doesn't make any sense to me, the entire sport, from watching it on TV to the actual sport itself. Why do people want to go see a left-hand turn be made? I can just go into my street corner for free. For free. Yeah, I don't have the ladies and I don't have the sound of the engines that are going 200 miles an hour, but I can see people make a left-hand turn. And you know what? I can still see accidents that way too. So to me, NASCAR really makes no sense, and that's what grinds my gears.
Thank you very much, Danny. And that's it for the show this week. I hope everybody had as much fun as we did. Kyle won the People's Chance. I'm winning it next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
Let's thank Earl and Bonnie, too, for being
Thanks
here.
for having me,
Thanks,
guys.
Earl. I appreciate it. All right, guys.
See you later.